So now, at this time, we'll take comments from the board. We do have 9 folks that have asked to speak and signed up. And typically, our policy says we have 20 minutes. We'll extend that just a little bit this evening, and we can give everyone 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a little bit over our time, but it's a little less than we provided in the. So at this time, first up is April Moore.
Okay. April Moore, I'm a resident here in Kendallville. I was happy to hear at the last school board meeting that any parent who called their child's school to have a hold placed on a specific book if that parent feels a specific book should not be accessed by their child. I would love for parents who want to restrict a child's reading to take this approach. A group that claims to be for parental rights seems hell-bent on taking rights away from me, a parent, for my child to read what they want. I recently read a few studies regarding the impact of reading on teens. One specifically, there were 4 8th grade teachers who were concerned about the overall disinterest in reading assignments by their students and decided to shake things up. Instead of assigning specific books, they allowed their students to decide what they wanted to read. They followed these students for 4 years and found some surprising things. Reading of any book chosen by the students helped them become more empathetic, less judgmental, more likely to seek multiple viewpoints, morally stronger, and happier. They reported more self-control, stronger relationships with peers and family members. They also became more grateful for their family lives. Reading achievements, such as comprehension and reading levels, also increased for these students. In regards to reading disturbing books, reading these led to more meaningful conversations with parents. It also discussed just what teens take away from these books. They don't view them as how-to manuals. They read these as cautionary tales. The books help them to see consequences of behaviors and actions. In summary, if you want to improve things at our school district, which I have heard many people say, we want to improve reading, we want to improve less bullying, all those type of things, we need to let students read. And I have included a couple different articles regarding this for the board to review. Thank you.
Next up is Aaron Hopper. And there is a basket. We do have materials for the board. Please feel free to place them there, and we'll get those passed out.
Thank you. Dr. Monroe, Dr. Torres, Mr. Leach, and members of the board and the community. Today I just wanted to take a few moments to think about some of the positives that are happening within our school corporation. I feel like, unfortunately, in today's day and age, we tend to focus a little bit too much on the negatives. I've been around the block a few times. I think that's another way to say I'm an old teacher now, instead of one of the young ones. And in our family, in our we have one daughter. She's an 8th grader at East Noble Middle School, and we live in Auburn. We have had the opportunity to send Jenna to her homeschool, which would be DeKalb Central. We also had an offer from our in-laws to send our daughter to a local private school. My husband teaches at a different school corporation, and we choose East Noble because of the wonderful things that go on here. Teaching is a hard place right now, and I would be remiss if I said that I hadn't questioned whether or not I want to continue teaching for another 20 years, because it's a hard place to be. But I know for at least the next 4 years, until my child graduates, we will be members of the East Noble community. And there are a lot of things happening in our classrooms and with our extracurriculars, and all of those things, and I think that they get lost in the crazy
that has become our world. And we need to kind of step back. And no matter how many negative things there are, I think we need to focus a little bit on the positive. And I hope that members of our community are able to do those kinds of things. Yes, there are things that we need to work on. Yes, there are holes and there are issues and legislative issues and so many things, but I believe that everyone is doing the best that they can, and we need to be mindful of that in our words and in our actions and our choices.
Next up, Charlie Barber.
Charlie Barber, I live at 336 Evo Street in Auburn. I teach East Noble High School. I thought I'd let you guys know some of what is happening as far as the high school in preparation for the SAT. Most of you are aware of the fact that, we did away with ISTEP, then it turned into SAT. And yes, the last couple of years, in some ways, it's just been gathering data, and this year is our big official one. And yes, this year we did the PSAT with freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, so they definitely have had good practice that way. And the positive of PSAT and SAT is it is linked to Khan Academy. Now, when that gets mentioned to some of our high school kids, they go, oh, because they think about what they had to do in elementary or middle school. But now it links to what their score was and where their deficiencies were on the PSAT, so that now we know where specifically to help them. Also, Mrs. Longenbaugh was able to do some training with some teachers. Mr. Rexroad, who teaches some of the geometry in Algebra 2, and Mrs. Nazer, who usually teaches Algebra 2 and Pre-Calc. They got the math training, and Mrs. Asher, who is a large number of the juniors by themselves, also did the training. And the three of them have been using Khan Academy already, and thus they're working more to do that, showing them what's going on. One of the things that not everybody realizes is your composite score may not get you a passing score on the SAT as far as the state's concerned, because you have to reach the benchmark in both English and math. So if you score really high in English, but you don't reach the benchmark in math, you haven't passed, even though your composite is passed. So that's part of what they're looking at as far as Khan Academy. And then to encourage them, Mrs. Longenbaugh and the counselors have been trying to come up with some different types of incentives. Mrs. Longenbaugh said, we'll pay for a student to have lunch with a faculty member of their choice and buy food from someplace else. Mrs. Longenbaugh volunteered to do somebody's hair if they really wanted, and they were trying to come up with some other things. No, Josh Shockey's not going to get to do their hair. He doesn't have that practice. Okay, so that's what's happening. The practice will be.
Next up is Ann Fraze.
Ann Fraze, Fort Wayne Public Schools. I could not be a school board member. I could not be a superintendent. I could not be a principal. I would find the work interesting, but I wouldn't have the courage and stamina to stay the course. In these positions, you expect to work hard, examining issues, trying to find the best solution. You know that you don't know everything, so you listen to the various viewpoints. You expect to learn, you expect to disagree. You expect respectful conflict, but you don't expect to be attacked professionally and personally. I don't get it. How does an attack of a teacher, a principal, a superintendent, a school board member get things done? How is thinking you have all the answers productive? Back to what I said previously in the October meeting. Prejudice is being down on something you're not up on. With experience, diversity is more than tolerated. It is appreciated. We can coexist and learn from each other, unless we become so ethnocentric that it's dangerous to our democracy. I am here in support of public education. I know that some here call the U.S. a Christian nation. They believe our nation was founded on this, and thus the schools should also be Christian. I believe that a desire for freedom of and from religion was a driving force. We are a nation of diverse people, different races, ethnicities, genders, different politics, different religions. Our First Amendment of the Constitution begins, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. In other words, separation of church and state. Now specifically, if a literary work or assignment offends a parent, the parent should ask the teacher for an alternate assignment. If there's a school library book that offends a parent after reviewing it in its totality, the parent should tell her son or daughter not to read it. For many circumstances, there is an easy solution. Too many attacks, too many demands, too much negativity, and you become the little boy who cried wolf.
Claudia, not.
Good evening, board members. I'm Dr. Claudia Knott, Kendallville native, a 1969 East Noble graduate. Tonight I want to address the extreme right's severely warped definition of parental rights and their weaponization of it to attack teachers and public education. Exhibit A is this little item that was put out on some sort of website in Kendallville that the superintendent had to address to make sure people understood that was not coming from the corporation. It's misinformation. Sadly, in U.S. history, there's this persistent ebb and flow of anti-intellectualism. And anti-intellectualism promoted by the extreme right is currently at high tide. Scientist Isaac Asimov explains it best. American anti-intellectualism rests on the false idea that because we have political equality, it also means that one person's ignorance is as good as another person's knowledge. The right's anti-intellectualism feeds the false idea that parental rights are equal to educators' knowledge and skills, and further, that parental rights should always supersede educators' professional expertise. My mother was an avid reader, but she never demanded to update East Noble English teachers on the latest literary criticism theories. Why not? Probably for the same reason that I, though I spent many hours in a dentist chair, did not presume to practice home dentistry on my children. Because my mother was not an English teacher and I'm not a dentist. The parental rights campaign based on denigration of the educational profession is a blatant effort to control public schools for the benefit of a few parents and their children at the expense of all parents and all children. So please, board, continue to defend East Noble teachers and the needs of all parents and students.
Audra Osborne.
He alone who owns the view gains the future. Adolf Hitler. Pretty powerful. That quote was used in a newsletter from the Moms for Liberty extremist group last summer. They kind of apologized and later regretted that apology. They won't be bullied by haters, they say. I'm picking. Picking on whom I affectionately call Planned Parenthood, but the truth of the matter is, if it's not them, it's another group that will pop up claiming you have parents' rights in mind. Moms for Liberty don't want government intervention when it comes to telling us how to raise our children. Yet here we are telling us exactly how to raise our children. Because of groups like these, Indiana now has a law that says one parent can take books out of the library if the parent thinks that book is too bad or risque. So therein lies the problem. The books that most undoubtedly are in question are autobiographical, speaking of lived experience. Guess what? Lived experience isn't a fairy tale. Nobody writes a book about how wonderful their life is and expects that everybody's going to read it. Research has shown that when children read books, just like April said, they read books that are disturbing. They're reading engaging narratives about characters with complicated lives. They reported that it helped them become more empathetic and less judgmental, more likely to seek multiple viewpoints, morally stronger and happier. They reported improved self-control and building more and stronger friendships and family relationships. So when it comes to people challenging books, think about how their limited beliefs in thinking about what could actually be a detriment not only to your child's well-being, but the well-being of others. And also just stop trying to tell me what my child can read, period.
Greg Rice.
What a beautiful facility. I tip my hat to board and administrators who had a heart in providing this lovely middle school for our children to learn in. I'm one of the extreme right. I'm one of those parents, you guys. One of those crazy parents. That's right.
Mr. Rice, please correct.
One of those crazy parents who objects to pornographic curriculum. I'm one of those parents who object to using the N-word, to using bestiality. I would quote what's in the book that I'm referring to. However, there are young children, so I will not do that. Yes, I am one of those crazy parents. Think of that for just a moment. Because we oppose graphic sexual literature in curriculum. Because we want to protect girls' sports from boys' participation, okay? Because we oppose your transgender policy, sports policy, and because we oppose a lot of these books that are in the curriculum, we have been under assault. I hope our friend from the media is getting all this. I would love to sit down and talk with you and show you all of the false accusations that have been made against myself and my organization, Engage East Noble. Accusations where we were not allowed to respond to because we oppose graphic sexual content, because we oppose transgender sports policy. We've articulated that to you, but you don't want to listen. Simply because of that, we are under assault, and we had our rights violated at one of the meetings, the school board, or the address to the corporation, holding signs with relevant information as to what was going on in East Noble, not impeding any traffic, vehicular, or any otherwise. We were ordered to leave by the Kendallville Police Department. Yes, I'm the crazy guy.
Time's up. Thank you.
I said, next to him, the same respect that you ladies wanted. He wasn't sitting back there making comments. I didn't hear.
Sir, please, thank you.
One of the moms control your crowd as well when you have speakers talking. Rick Carpenter. Towards the end of the school year last year, my daughter came home with homework that was clearly erroneous.
Can you speak into
I
the mic,
contacted
please?
the science teacher, Madison Klinker, and asked to meet with her to discuss the false information in the homework assignment. She wrote me, "Thank you for reaching out. If you'd like to send me your concerns and discrepancies over what has been taught and your perception is what is flawed in this content, I would be happy to look it over. After I've received your information, I will get back with you to discuss your concerns." So I emailed her the discrepancies and my concerns, but instead of discussing them with me, she wrote me back, thank you for your opinion. However, our curriculum for biology and evolution does meet state standards. As such, we will continue with the current curriculum materials. Now, it was apparent to me that she did not want to discuss the materials because it was so obviously false, and she had no response to the discrepancy I found. Day after day, my daughter had more homework that was also factually incorrect. I wrote the teacher again, but this time not only explaining logically why what she was teaching could not possibly be true, I gave her the explanation of leading evolutionists showing how the information she was teaching had been debunked over 7 decades ago. She never responded. I wrote the superintendent and the board president to no avail on 3 separate occasions, asking them to add a short presentation to the agenda and give me a chance to speak on the subject with the science teachers present and to open the meeting to questions. It's apparent to me that East Noble does not view critical thinking as a valuable skill, but rather they want to push a single religious narrative on the students, whether or not it is true. If a math teacher teaches that 2 + 2 = 5, yes, math meets the state standard. But it should be taught correctly, don't you think? Students are simply not allowed to implement critical thinking. They're being fed a narrative. The superintendent's solution for me was to take my daughter out of class under a controversial subject policy. That is not the solution. The solution is to teach accurate science. Natural selection is not a controversial topic. Who doesn't accept natural selection as a real-world phenomenon, but is being taught in a way that contradicts science, logic, and observation? It is obvious to me that there is an anti-Christian, anti-science narrative being pushed on the students. If there is no such narrative, give me a 15-minute presentation at the next board meeting.
last speaker of the evening, Tim Schlatter.
My name's Tim Schlatter. I was born here in 1960. I went through East Noble. It's a great school. You guys do a great job. The teachers here are great. When it was brought up, the separation of church and state, which I was taught all through school, people were snickering in the audience. You can all guess who they were. The same people who are sitting there telling you that evolution is being taught wrong in our schools. 99.9% of the scientists in the world agree that evolution is real. I am sick and tired of them using the very few scientists who are on board with creationism being allowed to use them as scientific proof, because it's not. It's not scientific proof. If they did a real study, they would know. I've been attacked by them by saying, oh, this person said this, and this person said that. But when you look it up, that stuff was debunked right when it came out, but yet they still keep spouting it. I want to congratulate you guys, you're doing a great job. Don't listen to this stuff. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda are the minutes of December 15th. Board those were in your packets. Do you have any questions?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion for Mrs. Blackman to approve. A second. Second from Mrs. Klein. All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Also in your packet, claims of December 22nd, 2023. Any questions about those? We have a motion to approve by Mr. Rubin, a second by Mr. Trudeau. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Claims of January 24th were also provided in your packet. Any questions about those? We have a motion by Mr. Trudeau, a second by Mr. Durbin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to personnel. In your packets, you had a chance to review the resignations, retirements, and terminations.
I'll make a motion to accept.
A motion by Mrs. Klein. Second by Mr. Durbin to approve resignations, retirements, and terminations. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Also in your packet were reassignments. A motion to pass those.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve resignations from Mr. Trudeau, seconded by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We have a new hire. That's in here tonight. Anna Castle, as a teacher. We have a motion to approve that hire. I'm sorry. Yes, just the first one. Let's go to the person. Is there a motion to do Anna Castle? And we'll go back to this. We have a motion to approve Hannah Castle as a special education teacher. We have a second, Mr. Anderson. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We also have additional hires, and those are also in your packet. Do you have questions about those?
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Mrs. Klein to approve. Second by Mr. Chulo. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries as well. Leave requests.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Blackman. Second from Mr. Anderson for leave requests. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries as well. Moving to instruction, Dr. Jamal.
Yes, here. Here at this time, that's our presentations for the evening, other than what we're gonna do with our board. So if you want to get up and leave, now is the time, so feel free to do that. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next piece, which is the Bill of the Year Instructional Progress Update, and Dr. Flores will be sharing that information with you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for staying and hearing about data. So part of my job is to talk about data. We talk about data literally every day, from everywhere, from kindergarten to the business office. We're always looking at data. It's not something we take lightly. We are constantly trying to improve. Are we there? No, not even close, but we're moving the ship. So at the State of the Union address back in October, we talked about our data from last spring, our iLearn scores. We admitted that they are not as good as we want them to be. We are better than that. So we have put so many things in place, and when I say we, I am talking about instructional assistants, principals, and coaches. I mean, everyone across the district is working on this nonstop. So when we say test a kid or we do an assessment and it's not where we want it to be, we immediately say we have to adjust instruction. Usually if there's an issue, it's not a student issue, it's usually instruction, curriculum, some type of programming. So we are adjusting all the time. And that's kind of exciting because it never changes, but we know that we need to continue to get better. So one of the things we do is we test kindergarten through 8th grade on iReady. So this is the platform that we're using. We do math and language arts. It tells us what skills students are lacking. So you can, if I sit, in my presentation's not 30 minutes, it's like 5. So he said 30, it's really not that long. So you're like, gosh, get on it. But part of that data tells us that, okay, for example, we have joined the literacy cadre with the state of Indiana. We have been hammering phonics, phonemic awareness in K to 3rd grade. Our data shows that it's working. So that makes me think, okay, what else can we fix? How else can we get better at these skills? So you'll see here, it's not all roses, but you know what, we're working through it. So here you'll see in window 1, that's the beginning of the year. That's August, early September. You can see right here, green is at or above grade level. So we get that, these yellow kids, we call those our bubble kids. Sometimes they just need a little bit of something extra. They might need an extra intervention group a couple times a week. They might need to work on vocabulary, comprehension. And then the red is our kiddos that are struggling. So this is the beginning of the year. Window 2 is right before Christmas. So you can see that we went from this up to 39%. So that's good. That means that we're moving in the right direction. And I'm starting with English language arts. So then last year, we showed this to you. We said, you know what, we're not proud of the 28%, but we're not going to hide it either. We're going to come out, we're going to admit it, we're going to get better. So you can see here, the state average was 40%. We were at 28, 29%. So that was last April. And that's the state test iLearn. So one thing that iReady does is it tells you, it can predict what your kids are going to do at the end of this year, this school year, when they retake that test in April. So if we don't do if we just keep doing what we're doing on a daily basis, that's called typical growth. And you'll see that we'll have 38% kids be proficient. So we went from 29%, now this year will be 38%. And you say, well, 38% is not as where we want to be. We know that. But if we have stretch growth, which is what we call it, that means that's an ambitious goal. That's what we really want, and we're striving for that stretch goal, and I know this is little, so that says 46%, so if you go back, that would put us right up here underneath Westview. So that gets us up a little bit higher. I'm competitive, do I wanna beat all those schools? Heck yeah, I do. So then let's go on. So then, now we talk about math, so switch a whole different gear. Here's the window 1, and then window 2, which we did right in December. And then we move on. Here we are, 32%. And last year, the state average was 40%, so again, below. So then when you talk about typical growth, okay, it tells us if we don't do anything, or do we just keep doing what we're doing on a regular basis, which we're not, by the way. We've already said, ooh, 33 is not good enough. So we've started things like, okay, let's do spiral reviews. Okay, let's talk about after-school tutoring. Okay, let's get some of these kids in some math interventions. So we are working through those. And that means that we will end up about right here. Not that much further, but if you look at our stretch growth, 41%, and then that puts us right above here, just above the state average. So yes, we really are hammering on getting that stretch growth. So board, do you have any questions about the data? And if you think, oh, she forgot about high school, I did not forget about high school. February will be the high school, we'll talk about PSAT and all those scores. So I didn't want it to be an all-night event, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on where we are right now. And I honestly could not have done it without our amazing support staff and all the people that I work with every single day. And they are truly killing it.
Things I would just add really quickly is, board, that the iLearn or iReady that we use for our data is about a 97% accurate predictor of iLearn. So you're gonna get pretty close to that data, so just FYI for you.
Thank you. All right, moving into the next portion of our meeting, our business agenda portion. Mr. Leach.
Thank you. I don't think I need that microphone unless you guys can't hear me. We good?
We can.
All right. So the first item on the agenda, as we've entered into 2024, we're closing out, putting the final touches on 2023. And the last part of that is to do the year-end account transfers. So as the budget is written, it's budgeted in many different categories, hundreds of different lines and accounts within some smaller accounts, or some larger accounts, I should say. So in your board packet, board, customary, as we do every year, to finish up the previous calendar year, budget year, you would have received the year-end transfers and the recommendation of the administration to approve the year-end closeout transfers of 2023. So, or as required by support accounts, so we can put that to rest and focus on 2024 and 2025.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. We have a motion from Mrs. Blackman. I'll second. Second from Mr. Brooklyn. To approve the end of the year account transfers as per the support accounts. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda, board, the state legislators have put kind of a pot of money in the budget to send to school corporations to distribute to teachers and those associated with the teaching staff, instructional assistants, instructional coaches, and so forth, for grades pre-K through 3rd grade, for their efforts to increase literacy scores. It's the early literacy stipend, or the early literacy grant. As you saw Amy kind of present a little bit, how you've seen some of those benchmarks and those scores move. So we received a little over $14,000. It gets divided amongst those certified teachers and instructional assistants that were heavily part of some of that movement. Part of the requirements to receive this money is you had to have been employed in part or in whole for the 22-23 school year and currently employed at the time of payout by East Louisville School Corporation. So, the amount of the, here's the recommendation. Board's recommendation of the administration that we pay a stipend to all certified teachers, instructional coaches, instructional assistants in grades pre-kindergarten through 3rd grade. These individuals would need to have been employed in whole or part for 22-23 school year, and who are currently employed and in good standing by East Louisville School Corporation for the 23-24 school year at the time of payout. The administration recommends the stipends in the following amounts. Certified teachers, $138.60. Instructional assistants, $69.30. The monies used to pay stipends are from a state-provided early literature grant that's designed through HEA 1001-2023. Upon approval of the board, the stipend will be paid out on February 16th, 2024.
We have a motion from Mrs. Klein. Second from Mr. Durbin to approve the early literacy stipends for pre-K teachers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up. Yeah.
The next item under business board, as we discussed for many years, and we've kicked around several ideas, is what the next steps are in some of our facilities pertaining to the Alternative Learning Center. As you know, at one point in time, that was no grocery store, it became a central office, and then it became the Alternative Learning Center. That building, we've made it work, but it's definitely not, we're working for it versus the building working for us. So the staff and the students in that building have needed additional resources and space, what that building can provide. We're at a time when that building has needed some extensive repairs, and we've been evaluating what those repairs look like, how much they are, what the dollar amount is, and so forth. We've looked at different facilities, including our own facilities, other buildings within Kendallville, properties within Kendallville. We have found a opportunity to potentially purchase a 2-acre plot that's currently owned by Impact Institute, or actually DeKalb Eastern School Corporation. They are the LEA for Impact. So in your packet is a resolution that will allow us to further investigate that by having surveys done, soil borings, and then start conversations about the opportunity that may be presented to us to purchase that 2-acre property in order to construct an alternative learning center that will meet the needs of our students and staff, to provide that alternative education, because we all know that one size doesn't fit all. So that's the direction that we're looking to go. There's by no means any guarantee that we will purchase this property. This is just giving us the opportunity to further investigate and go down that path. The DeKalb County, or DeKalb Eastern School Board will need to approve a very similar resolution as to what you guys are doing tonight, and that leaves the ability for the superintendent, Dr. Grimeau, and myself to further this conversation. So, as this is our chief finance operation officer, I recommend that you approve the resolution so we can move forward.
I'll make that motion to approve that.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion to continue exploration. Mrs. Blackman, seconded by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the very last item under business is a resolution to waive mandated 180 instruction days. You are aware that this is a 1003 flexibility waiver that we have used in the past. I think it's been 5 years now. The state allows us to count instructional minutes, and we are asking for 3 days again to provide professional development for our staff. That is without student attendance or virtual learning. So what I am asking for the board to do is to approve the resolution to support the application of the 1003 flexibility waiver.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the waiver of our 182 days, student days. That's for the purpose of professional development. Motion by Mrs. Klein, second by Mr. Trulo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. At this point, continuing on with Mr. Leach, that we will suspend this point, our board meeting, and of what we're doing, move into a board finance meeting, and then after that, we'll resume the regular portion. Mr. Leach?
All right, board, we are now in the Board of Finance for East Noble School Corporation, board meeting. The first official business is to elect officers for the Board of Finance. As we have done, for many years in the past, as we follow the same board of officers that we have for the East Noble School Board. So the recommendation of the administration that we follow the same pattern and recommend the same slate of officers for the Board of Finance. Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve, East Noble School Corporation Board of Trustees fulfill the same role in the East Noble School Corporation, East Noble Board of Finance. Motion by Mr. Burton, seconded by Mrs. Khan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, next, to further discuss the Board of Finance, required by Indiana law. You'll see on the screen behind me, board, you have it back in front of you. This is off of the Indiana.gov DUAB website. You can select any school corporation in the state of Indiana, and it'll walk through kind of the fiscal indicators for that school corporation. So you'll see our assessed valuation, you'll see our student membership, and so forth on there. And then the first slide, it is the ADM, which is our average daily membership. It shows you a chart from 2014 and 15 all the way through 2022, 2023. This data is old, it's anywhere from 1 to 2 years old. It takes a while for the state to compile all this information and put it together in a type of graph form. But what you can see here in the ADM report is you can see the student enrollment slowly declining. Our peak is in the 2016-17 year, it looks like 17-18, so forth, and then declining from there. The next slide, you'll see the fund balances. It says different funds. The main funds you'll be looking at, the education fund, the operations fund, debt service funds. Those are the new funds that the state has established starting 2019. Prior to 2019, you have the old funds of the general fund, the capital projects fund, transportation fund, and so forth. You'll see a couple of those funds that are below the $0 mark. Those are federal grants for the most part. Those are reimbursable. So we have to spend the money and then request to be reimbursed, which is why you can see a negative dollar amount. We ask for reimbursements on a monthly basis. So at the time that this was reported, there was expenditures that were expended that had not been reimbursed by the federal government. So that's why you can see those below that $0 mark. You'll see the next graph is the annual deficit and surplus. It just shows that we are not running, our finances aren't in good order. Our expenditures look good, our revenues look good, they're fairly balanced. And then we have, let's make sure our cash balance down below. And you'll see fund balances as a percent of our operations in the next slide. It's a bar graph there. Try to keep that pretty steady, and then you'll see it kind of up and down a little bit. But we're also saving some funds for some future projects that are coming up that will be pretty costly. It's not something we can do really large projects, but we can do some to maintain our facilities and so forth, and also provide additional instruction for classrooms and so forth. The next slide is the revenue by type. Most of our revenue comes from the state revenue, which is the state grant, which is referenced off of our average daily membership, number of students in our seats. We also have local tax revenue, our debt revenue, and so forth, and some federal money in there you'll see as well. They also have the federal stimulus money, which is the ESSER funds. We also have the COVID money, so you'll see that in a graph there designed by the state. The final slide shows an operating referendum revenue as part of total revenue. We do not have the current operating revenue or operating referendum so therefore there is no revenue. The referendum that we do have is a construction referendum, which is what was used to support and build this facility that we're currently sitting in. So that is the overview of the finances as required by Indiana Code. Again, this is all on the indiana.gov DUAP website. You can select any corporation in the state of Indiana, school corporation, and see what their information looks like.
I have some clarification on the charts.
Sure.
The annual deficit surplus chart. What's the floating rate on?
That's our fund balances. So it brings in that chart below it as a percent of our expenditures and revenue.
Okay. What's the bar, ledger?
Now, if you look at it online, it's a little more interactive.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
you can select that and see
Okay.
that. Board, any other questions regarding?
Great job.
Thank you. The last item under Board of Finance is to report the interest income for the school corporation for calendar year 2023 or budget year 2023. I'm proud to report with help from the interest rates that the feds have established for 2023. It's good for us. It's not some good news for homeowners who are looking to buy or finance cars or what have you. The school corporation earned interest income of $1,085,135.28. So all the monies that we have are this interest earned off of our bank accounts. It's constantly we're using our money to work for us to provide more revenue that helps offset some of the declining enrollment and other things that may not be expected in that type of budget. I do budget an amount for interest income every school year. So this is definitely something to help support our funds. Going along to report with that, the expenses or the fees that we paid to our bank were in the amount of $13,846.90. So you can definitely see that our interest income surpassed our expenses that we paid to the bank, such as number of checks cashed, wired money, things like that. So with that, that's all I have for the Board of Finance meeting, and I'll turn it over to you, Dave.
Do folks have any questions? Okay. We will now resume the remainder of our business meeting. A few items of discussion, so Teresa, start us off. Strategic plan.
Yes, I just want to review very quickly the strategic plan and how we're going to report that progress out. We'll be creating a dashboard of updates and progress, and we'll be sharing that out in April, the April meeting. The dashboard will give a brief description, it'll give data, appropriate updates for each one of the goals under our pillars of relationship, learning, and environment. And just keep in mind that there is no way we would report at every goal every time, because just as we move through that process, there's going to be lack of time for it, and we want to make sure that we update it on the sheet. And while we're anxious to give you all of the information and accomplish every goal right away, we know that's not going to happen. So keep in mind that this is a 5-year plan, and we'll move through that process as quickly as we can. If we get our goals accomplished, we'll establish new ones. But we just want to make sure that no one thinks this is put on the back burner or up on the shelf and we're not doing anything with it. We are working the plan. And board, if you feel that when you see it and you feel like you want something different, I would just ask that you communicate that with us so that we can give you whatever if you need to see, just to show you that we're making progress towards those goals. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or any requests at this time? Okay. We're going to turn that over to Dr. Corris to talk about preschool programming.
So, you got the memo about us expanding preschool, so I don't know if you have any questions about that. We would like to add a teacher at both school and an IA. We received $400,000 grant from the state of Indiana to do that because we're trying to create more preschool seats. There's only 2 licensed preschools in Noble County. We are one of them, so we are looking to expand.
And what schools
North Side and Lansing.
And would those be full-day programming, those 2 buildings?
Yes. They would run on the same schedule as the current buildings.
Transportation be required,
Parents, it's self-transport,
all of it self-transport?
unless there's special ed, but yes.
Well, then when they go down to the adult program?
Not necessarily, but most likely.
What's the adult program? Is that all that?
So it's, happening.
Is there plans to make that full day?
Not at this point.
So is there 2 new teachers in each building? Is one building doesn't take from the building? No, it's the great.
Yes. And we wanna look at this as a
You guys
year now.
Yeah.
You asked if it was a full-day program as well?
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
not.
it
Are,
is.
but are these going to be?
Is it going to go on campus?
No.
Is there a fee for a full day?
Yes, approximately $250 a month, but when you are licensed through the state actually gives you more than what you charge those families. So you actually become, out ahead, which is the only way that you would be able to fund this without it costing us money.
And so how long can we fund it on the grant monies?
The grant money is only 1 year. After that, we have to be self-sustaining, but the whole point of getting kids with scholarships is so that you are above and beyond what you are for a parent-paid preschool.
So the theory is to put more kids in preschool, or we want to.
Right. Yes.
Do they, think that funding preschool?
I'm a legislator, I'm gonna talk about, but, when we talked about this grant, I have applied for it last summer, like this has been a very long process, there came an interview from the principals, myself, they visited, and we negotiated, like I had to sit and negotiate with them, and it's just been, this is the longest, hardest grant I've ever gotten, and I've done a ton of grants, but part of that is that they need seats in Noble County, so they're very desperate to get schools. We are the only ones around that got this grant. And it took them so long because they had 1,000 applicants. So, we're proud that we got it, but we cannot be stranded with this grant. We know that we need all-day preschool because we created a task force and asked parents, what do you need? We need daycare, we need affordable daycare in Noble County. So this creates 40 seats for us, 20 in each school. They need the convenience of being, if you're dropping your 3rd grader off, you also want to drop your preschooler off. And research shows that if you get kids signed up for preschool in your building, they are more than likely to stay for your elementary. So it's also a way to help grow our enrollment.
So if they're, we've talked a lot about that, kids in our schools or in our area not transfer. So if this is someone who maybe lives in Villa but wants to have a room city, love room city,
Yeah, for sure. But also as a problem is Avila is south. So if you live up north by Rome City, then it's challenging for parents to drive all the way down to Illinois for a 2-hour preschool and then all the way back. And so we have heard, to do the 2 hours, you almost have to have someone that doesn't work full time. And this is geared more towards solution family. This is geared for the, free and reduced challenged families. Yeah. I didn't say that.
Is there not a need for the full day at Villa right now?
We looked into that, but what they're doing is working for that specific population. Like, we didn't want to go in and just change the whole program, because that is a collective, that preschool is cohesive, they work well together. So when this opportunity came about, it was like, well, we could pilot this, right? That's what we like to say, we're gonna pilot it. So we thought we could pilot it and see how it goes, and we'll see if Avila, but right now, that was not something that was, because of the whole transportation. If you're Rome City, you're like, I don't wanna drive all the way.
Well, and it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
It does. But I'm struggling mentally in my mind of having a full day in two places and a half day in another. That's kind of where my
No, but if you are in Villa, you would maybe go to Northside, right? You would drive into town to drop your child off at preschool. But
Depends
it's
on
not
the district
something,
and where we are.
right, but it's not something that we would, I mean, we're always looking, if this works, then yeah, we would consider doing one in Villa. Not everybody wants their child in all-day preschool either. I believe the only preschool in Rome City closed last year. Yeah. And this was one of the reasons that it came up. I don't think so. We're targeting kids that are specifically low income and are not in preschool at home. That is our goal to get them to do.
And so like, looking at the longevity of this, I have a question for you, and then I have a question for Brad. Like, we have the room in both buildings, like
Yes.
long term, we're good with that.
Yep.
And then long term, this is gonna be self-sustaining, you believe, Ryan?
Well, it starts out as a pilot program. We started out as, we've heard a need, we see a need, and so we're gonna try to fill a need, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing. Amy was able to write this grant to kind of get it off, to test it, to see how it works. There are lots of things that need to go into this, lots of things need to work out. Just because we started at Rome City and Avella at full time, or I'm sorry, Rome City Northside, as full time doesn't mean at some point in time Avella may not have, a full day. So we're trying to work through all that. Part of the problem, the reason Avella is the way it is now, is to provide transportation. Our current transportation program is not set up to do door-to-door pickup for preschool students. Preschool students need to be transported in a completely different manner. They have to have 5-point harnesses and so forth. So prior to opening the Avella preschool, we did purchase 3 school buses that had those harnesses on it. It's about additional $20,000 or $25,000 per bus to kind of start that program. But that's also, without adding additional drivers, additional expenses, we're kind of repurposing after regular day routes to move those kids from hubs in Rome City and Northside to Avella. So by doing that, you're cutting into that day of instruction. So that's become kind of a challenge we're trying to work through. It works for some, but it doesn't work for all. So we're trying to provide an opportunity for all. We've seen where the students going to kindergarten maybe aren't where we'd like to see them. So if we can get more instructional time with them, as Amy said, parents are needing a full day option, so they don't have to try to figure out coverage for the other half of the day. We do have champions available. That's not for everybody either. So we're trying to see what we can do to appease as many as possible. And this is a pilot program. We're trying to be as committed as we can to make sure it's successful, so we can be there for the long term. As far as it being self-sustainable, from what it sounds like from the state, they're going to help us promote this. They've increased some of the reimbursement rates. So everybody's working to make it sustainable. I can't predict what it'll be in a year or 3 years or 5 years, but we're all working to try and do this. So, from a financial standpoint for the school district, I'm on board and I'm committed to try and make this work and help provide that for our parents, for our students, for our community, and for our staff.
So Brian, if the state says, you just don't have money this year, do you feel confident that there's an extra 400,000, 500,000 that we can go.
This money is already budgeted from the state for this
Yeah, I
action plan
understand
for
this.
400,000.
This year is, but the longevity is really brought up.
Yeah, that's what I'm just worried, like, it does go well, and we've got that need there, obviously, and you've done all this work, Amy. When the state says no more, are we gonna have to let all these folks down? That's
Well,
what-
then it would be parent paid only, and if that's not the case, then we would use it, but,
It's already parent paid, you said that.
right, but if you, the state is only putting more money into this. I don't think they're gonna back out, I think they're only going to add more. And that's what they're talking about now in the legislative session, is that if pre-K is so important, that they need to fund it even more. So that's what
There's a problem from Elkhart County, just about that.
So, I mean, as you're seeing some of the declining enrollment, we're trying to start on the ground floor and create an opportunity to bring more kids in, to start them through the process at a young age, hopefully keep them for 13 years, you know, in order to help increase our enrollment. It's, sometimes you have to spend money to make money.
So is our enrollment going down because they're going elsewhere, or just
There's definitely a combination of those. That's why we're trying to hit all different angles. You know, that's why we sold 36 acres, you know, across from the south side to build homes, to provide more opportunities for parents to move in, a family to move in. Trying to look at this opportunity, parents say that they have a need, as opposed to them going elsewhere. But there is a lot of opportunities to go elsewhere. So it is something that, you know, that's, like, anytime you start a new program, there's things you have to work through.
And I'm sorry, I'm sure these were conversations that you guys had. I just wanted to hear, like, and I'm sure that they want to hear too, so I'm sure that.
So that's our job, is to educate you and help you understand.
Did you reach out to the Northside community, the Rome City community, to get a feel for how many folks are interested?
yes. From
About Northside?
We're having preschool roundup, April. Yeah, April. So I don't anticipate it. In fact, I'm worried that we're going to have too many kids.
What capacity are we at with the bill right now?
I think we're at like 70%. About 70%. Legally, they could go up to 24 in a classroom, but that's not best practice, so. Yes, we could take more, but that'd be best for our students.
So it's 70% based on 24 per classroom?
Yeah.
Oh.
And these we could take up to 24, but our goal is to get 20. When I do the budgeting, I think 20, I don't think 24.
And it will serve just the Northside attendance boundaries, and the Rome City attendance boundaries.
No, if you're a Wayne Center parent, you want to go to this community.
It's that's in the south side.
Correct.
It really will serve whoever has interest in that program and has the ability to train.
It could be somebody who lives in Columbia City, but I live here in Smokeland. In fact, those are the ones we want, because that's the kids in. My kids are in college, they're. Yeah, I already have tuition down.
I think it's great. Thank you for, sure.
Yeah.
You guys have Jen Anderson. She's with the,
Right.
and so businesses. Thrive by 5. So you think you get more people to work because there's daycares and they want to fund these daycares, maybe even in businesses, but because people don't go to work because they don't have daycare, affordable daycare.
She's actually the one who said, here's a grant, why don't you apply for it? And I was like, all right, doesn't seem too hard. Little did I know, it was worse than private education.
I will say that different phone calls with Edie and the state in regards to this grant. They are very eager and seem very committed to helping see this become successful. And if this works, then they're looking to expand it in other areas as well. So I think we're working with the right people to try to make this happen. So,
This was her.
Will that take a full vote? Like that? No.
She wasn't on it now?
I need time to think, I'm not ready. And I go back to, I'm sorry, I keep coming back to this, I keep going back to, if the villa's got the half-day program, and let's say there's a South family that wants all day, and the villa's got half, is their kid gotta go to Rome City or Northside now? Because from Leano, that's a haul. That's a haul when you wanted full day.
as of right now for this next year, that's the way the program will be. I'm not saying that wouldn't be that way for the following year or whatever. Again, we're trying to pilot this to see what works, what's not working, and make adjustments along the way. So to say that there isn't going to be a full day program in Avella forever is not a fair statement. So.
But it will be a half-day program for the 24-25 school year.
Yes. Yep. Okay, if you have any questions, you're welcome to call or email me.
And I would also say, since I sent your memo late, there's a link in there that Amy, actually did, write up, it's about a page and a half, maybe, just all the details, so if you wanna look at that, reach out to her, Brian, myself, any of us, just to give you more information, if there's something you want us to investigate, we can do that. So, between now and the next board meeting, you know, just bring any questions to us that you feel like you are comfortable, so. I'm glad to work with you.
Ready for my next one?
Yes, please.
Man, I'm busy tonight, so much easier to just sit here and do nothing. Okay, so we're looking to, plan our, with EF tours, which is Educational First Tours, our next year's, trips. And so right now this year, we have a group going to Panama, we have 6 travelers. They leave, right after graduation in June. And then we have 19 travelers going to Spain. So for the 25, summer, we would like to plan a trip to Costa Rica. And then the other trip will go to London, Paris, and the beaches of Normandy. I have a really good video of watch going on.
From a school district perspective, the way that EF fosters relationships, global relationships with our students, it's a necessity these days.
One of the things that we want our superintendent to work towards is having our students become globally competent. So what we need from EF is just continue doing what you're doing and help us meet that goal.
This is our chance while they're in the school system here for us to introduce them, expose them
to all these amazing opportunities. My students graduated at twice the rate if they had traveled with me than students from our neighborhood who didn't travel. They scored higher on standardized tests.
The world is your oyster, and we want to expose them to that as early as possible. So they can see outside of the travel portion, what about contribution to the world, to a career, maybe an interest that they didn't even know they had.
How do you know what your passion is if the only thing you ever see is a small town or not meeting people from around the world?
We are really looking for opportunities for our students to have experiences that will help create mirrors and windows with them, to see themselves and their own experiences reflected in their work in classrooms and outside of classrooms, and also for exposure to viewpoints and experiences that may be different than their own.
We've got a mixed demographic of students, some that can easily afford to travel and some that it's a little bit harder. So we are trying to expand our offerings, giving students the opportunity to fundraise, to earn money, to earn credits, to go towards travel over time so that nobody's excluded.
Don't define your communities by what they can't do, define them by what they can.
It doesn't matter what your parents do for a living, this opportunity is open for all kids.
We've tried to develop a committee here at the high school, as well as being active with our state Council on International Education. Even though the world is a complex place and there's complex issues, there's really more that brings us together than actually sets us apart.
Yes, the architecture is also art, music, cuisine, but it's really about the people and just really knowing that we are more connected and we're more similar than different as humankind.
I see that a long-term benefit that our students will get is to understand that they have a place in this world, to understand that they can be the world, and they can come home and they can bring those ideas, and that they are more than what the society and what the media is telling them that they are.
The more that they know about the world, the less scared they are of those that they don't know much about. And that's why we really love working with EF, because they make that ability to connect so accessible.
Who are we to instill our past and even our present on our students, right? So I think the best gift is to allow them to explore the world.
And you actually go into a community and you see something you've never seen before, and you feel something you've never felt before, and it's like, well, that's compassion. You felt compassion on a different level that you've ever had in your life.
It's going to make us a stronger community, and I think that we will be in a better position to produce world leaders. They are global citizens, and that means that they have to have empathy and understanding and respect for all perspectives and cultures and religions and ethnicities. And really that happens when you immerse yourself.
Hopefully at that point, we have encouraged them to be that future-ready graduate of someone who is a learner, a collaborator, someone who's a contributor, someone who thinks constantly.
We want our writers to have the character traits and the social and emotional competence is essential for excelling in life. Not just college and career ready, but the life ready willingness to embrace all the changes that are happening in the world. They know that they'll come back changed for the better.
So that's who we partner with.
Specific difference between AFS and what is the difference between AFS? It's the same. It's what they go for. Do we have go there? So, okay, because they have some I just.
You have tours are usually what, 10 days, 20 days, something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas
They have
it's changed. Most of those students come here and spend the year. This school is.
But they have other programs.
So these are, they have different ones, but they've been around 50 years. But you can do like a work trip where you go and do service projects, or you can do a study trip where you earn college credits, high school credits and all that. But, so I don't know how yours is, but it's just depends on what goes on. These are study trips.
What's the opportunity for the, as far as raising?
They have scholarships, and then the high school teachers have created groups that are fundraising. So it's one reason we want to send it, we want to push it out as quick as we can, because then parents have time to get ready for it. You can make a monthly payment. Like one district that I met, they push theirs out 4 and 5 years in advance. So kids in 7th grade know, when I become a junior, that's where I'm going. And they said some trips are more popular, like the Paris and London trip. Everybody wants to go there. And so people will wait in the community when that trip hits, those kids want to go. So you have, 3 or 4 years to save that money. But we do, EF offers scholarships, and then we also do fundraising.
And how do they apply for these scholarships? Are you send that through some guidance counselor?
No, so when we have the parent meeting, you just go online and say, I have a need, I'm not committing yet, but this is what I'm interested in doing. And they do a money back guarantee, they don't penalize you for going out the program.
There may be a certain financial aid that you can apply for. The one for educational things, but there may be a specific you can apply for this financial aid.
Is that 10 days, or is that 2 days of travel? So you can only do it for 3 days?
That's a good question. It says 8 days. You know what? I could send you the full itinerary. I have it. Yeah, I will send it.
Is this school sponsored or just an opportunity to deal with our students?
Yeah, it is personal.
Our teachers are going
And so from a liability standpoint, it falls underneath our umbrella. I know my daughter went to Costa Rica in 2015 school. Wonderful experience.
Can I volunteer to shepherd?
I'll fundraise.
So one of the hooks is that, when we get 6 students, we send a teacher for free. When we get 10 students, we send another teacher for free. A teacher can take his or her spouse, you have to pay for it, but, parents are allowed to go, but it's really nice for our teachers, it's kind of like, it's just something extra, like, hey, you love to travel, you wanna teach this? And I traveled to the Dominican with them in October and May, and everything, it was super safe. It was just not, it was constant communication, and I highly recommend it.
Questions? I don't think so.
Not tonight, we'll bring it back next board meeting. We'll send us any questions you may have, if you think of anything, so.
Late items.
We do not have any late items.
Comment on
I have a couple comments. I'm not as loud as the rest of them. I just want to say, we are in the month of January where we celebrate school board member appreciation. So I just want to reach out and express my gratitude to each one of the board members here. Their unwavering commitment to children and education for the betterment of East Noble is amazing, so thank you. I know that you put in countless hours, as we do, just reading through the packets of information and thinking of all of the things that are gonna help us to be successful and supportive, and I just thank you so much for that, and I just appreciate the selfless servant leadership that you have and just the driving force behind our corporation. So thank you. What you do for all of us is commendable, and you are very much appreciated for the work that you do. So give them a round. Also would like to take this time to talk about library books and books in the curriculum. There have been some requests for library books to be reviewed for age appropriateness, and we want you to know that we appreciate that concern that was brought to us. We have processed, we have been actually sent 8 books through the review process since last school year. 4 of 7 were removed from our libraries, 3 were deemed appropriate based on the policy and the law, and then we still have 1 pending for review. But I want to make sure everybody is aware that parents have the right to determine what library books are appropriate for their children. So at any time you feel like there's a book you don't want them to read that's in the library, please just contact your administration, your media specialist, and we will certainly honor a request to withhold any book from a student that is deemed inappropriate by a parent. We're here to help. We want to make sure that that request is honored, and any request by the parent, we will certainly make note of that and ensure that your child does not receive that book. Also, very last thing, I just want to thank again the middle school staff for the time and effort put in. This is a lot of work putting this together for us. So much appreciated. Thank you. Love the presenters. Especially love the STEAM and the A in there. Love, love, love that. So little by little we'll get there, but thank you so much for the presentations this evening and setting that. Appreciate it.
Comments or questions from the board?
Did Kim desperately?
I think they did.
Well, I'll share with you guys. I know she didn't have robots on the ground or anything, but both of my daughters went through her effects class here, and I can't sew. My oldest daughter, I still give her all my sewing things. If buttons fall off, Kim taught her how to sew, and she still to this day sews as a 19-year-old. And my 16-year-old that cooks dinner for us at least twice a week, and that's all because of Kim does her specs lessons here. So she might not have had robots on the ground or anything that lit up, but I really do appreciate her and everything she does here. So
She does amazing things.
Yeah.
I'd like to piggyback on that a little bit. I want to thank the middle school staff.
For sure, all of
And
it.
the corporation that, I think at some point in time, we got away from consumer family science and the life skills, the ag stuff and that. In my experience, when I was growing up, that's where I was exposed to the elementary, you're exposed to the numbers, the playground, the reading, and whatever else. Junior high, you start getting exposed to the real world, different jobs, whether it be you're going to be a great farmer and do the combine, not the second bus, to be on a brain surgeon. You still need to know how to sew, you need to know how to cook for yourself. Thank you for the staff that's doing that and getting those skills and exposures to our kids. That is fantastic.
And I also forgot to say, board, we need your pictures. So at the end, see Brock back there, wave your hand, Brock, so they know who you are. And he's gonna snap some pictures of you, so we can put them out, do fun things with them.
And as Mrs. Klein and Mrs. Durbin, it always amazed me when I was actually working in the schools, 6th graders on the first day of band and then a year and a half, 2 years later, performances like this. They don't start like that. There's a lot of patience involved. I shared the homes with the parents, and it's just amazing. It's so cool to see from here to where they were tonight. Awesome programming, awesome programming.
And Bill, thank you for what you did last night and then being here for our students first thing this morning.
All right, with that, we'll meet in executive session and following this conclusion of this meeting. We'll be meeting for a variety of Indiana codes to discuss job performance, evaluation of individual employees, and to discuss personnel. Our next regular meeting is Wednesday, February 21st, beginning at 6:00 p.m. at Wayne Center Elementary. This meeting is adjourned.